Last time I filled up, petrol was $2.20. I know how much the price of bread is. It's up to people to ask whatever questions they want. Andrew.
What's the national unemployment rate?
National unemployment rate at the moment is, I think it's 5.4. Sorry, I'm not sure what it is.
Hello, I'm Paul Berry. Welcome to Media Watch. It's only day one of the official election campaign and the opposition leader has already been stumped by a simple question from Sky's Andrew Clennell, who, don't forget, scored a similar hit on the PM over bread and petrol prices back in January. But it's not just journalists giving candidates a rough ride when they get out on the road, as the PM discovered when he was put to the pub test at the Edgeworth Tavern in Newcastle.
Get out of my way. Let me talk. We're talking. OK, this is what you said when you got elected last time. We're going to help all those people that worked all their lives, paid their taxes, and those that have a go will get a go. Hey, you better do something. I don't care. I'm sick of your
All the PM could do was stand and cop Ray's spray, which he did. And all the media had to do was package it up for the evening news and grab the popcorn. As Sky presenters Peter Stefanovic and Laura Jays observed about campaign hecklers.
It makes for compelling TV, that's
great
for sure.
TV.
That's where we come in.
Good for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And good for the local paper too, with the Newcastle Herald trumpeting.
Welcome to Sledgeworth.
Given how choreographed election campaigns are, the media will be hoping for more missteps over the next 6 weeks. Because if Angry Ray hadn't turned up and lashed the PM, the TV bulletins would have been left with images like these, which everyone but the candidates has surely had enough of. But for politicians, it's not just about controlling the image, it's about getting the daily message across. And confrontations with people like Ray tend to drown that out. As former political journalist Mark Kenny told Sky News,
it also can just derail a whole day's work. You may have a big announcement that day and find that the story that's leading in the paper is a shouting match that some senior person, perhaps even the leader, has had with a constituent. That's not a good look. So, yeah, they've got to be really, really careful.
But hopefully not too careful. Facing narky voters is part and parcel of running for the top job, and how leaders react helps voters judge who they are and how they'll lead. Here's Bob Hawke in 1989, typically fighting back.
You get more a week than we get a year. Yeah.
And here's Kevin Rudd copping a spray in the 2007 campaign.
You're an ignorant bastard, both of you.
And here's Tony Abbott at a hardware store in 2011.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Oh, really?
So, getting mugged on a street walk has always been a risk. But with the rise of social media, it's much easier for disgruntled voters to crash politicians' photo ops and then grab headlines, as proven by this Labour supporter at the same Newcastle pub last week.
Congratulations on being the worst Prime Minister we've ever had.
Which was then picked up and amplified by news.com.au and the Daily Mail. But public ambush is not the only problem Scott Morrison has been dealing with. He's been facing repeated attacks on his character and credibility, which have had the coalition's cheer squad in the media doing their damnedest to hose them down.
I must be stupid. I mean, I thought this election was about your future. But the media left, and Labor, they seem to think, is about Scott Morrison's past. In fact, about something the Prime Minister allegedly said 15 years ago. I mean, it's nuts.
In recent months, a handful of people who know Morrison well, mostly from the coalition, have branded the PM a liar or a bully or worse. Starting back in February with leaked text messages from former New South Wales State Premier Gladys Berejiklian allegedly branding him
a horrible, horrible person.
To which, supposedly, a cabinet minister in the Morrison government had replied that he was
a fraud and, quote, a complete psycho.
3 days later, another bombshell text emerged, this time from Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce, who in 2021 had offered this devastating assessment from the backbench of his political boss.
He's a hypocrite and a liar from my observations, and that's over a long time.
Joyce's takedown of the PM echoed that much-reported claim from French President Emmanuel Macron in November last year that Morrison had lied to him over the submarine deal.
Do you think he lied to you? I don't think. I know.
But perhaps the biggest hit on the PM's character came on budget night 2 weeks ago from dumped Liberal Senator Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells, who described the PM as
an autocrat and bully who has no moral compass.
And told the Senate in a farewell speech,
In my public life, I have met ruthless people. Morrison tops the list. Morrison is not fit to be Prime Minister.
And since then, others have weighed in on the PM, including Senator Jackie Lambie, who told Sky News,
"He is a bully, he is intimidating, and that's the truth of the matter, and good on Connie for calling him out."
So how seriously should we take these attacks? According to many Conservative commentators, not at all. In The Australian, Gerard Henderson's column proclaimed,
Fierravanti-Wells' attack on PM fails the sniff test.
And Henderson told readers,
she provided no evidence to support her case against the Prime Minister, especially with respect to her most serious allegation that Morrison was a bully. None whatsoever.
And on Sky News, Chris Kenny was equally damning and dismissive, calling the speech by Fierravanti-Wells
vicious, ugly, smearing by association. This was Twitter-level stuff from the Senator, unbecoming of the Parliament.
And Daisy Cousins on Sky was another to let fly, telling Corey Bernardi,
I don't actually think voters care very deeply about whether or not politicians have a moral compass, as the Senator put it, or are good people.
Meanwhile, in the Daily Telegraph, federal political editor and Sky News host James Morrow glossed over the charges against the Liberal leader and turned the story back onto Labor supporters and the left.
Left has a new hero. Connie Fierravanti-Wells was once loathed by progressives for her stances on climate and marriage, but her attack on the PM has made her Twitter's darling.
But Fierravanti-Wells' so-called spray did offer evidence to back up her claims, and it concerned Morrison's behaviour in 2007 in launching his parliamentary career, when he won pre-selection for the safe Sydney seat of Cook. Morrison lost in the first ballot by a massive 82 votes to 8 to a Lebanese-Australian called Michael Towke, but he sailed through to victory when Towke was forced out of the race.
Morrison might profess to be Christian, but there was nothing Christian about what was done to Michael Towke. I'm advised that there are several statutory declarations to attest to racial comments made by Morrison at the time that we can't have a Lebanese person in Cook.
The PM vigorously denies making that statement and any charge of racism, calling it a malicious slur.
Well, all I can say is it's just simply untrue.
But the revelations have kept on coming, with this front-page splash from Karen Middleton in the Saturday paper 9 days ago.
Actually a Muslim. The true story of Morrison's ruthless pre-selection.
That story detailed the claims in one of the stat decks, which the Sydney Morning Herald then revealed had been sworn by one of Morrison's campaign managers, Scott Chapman, who declared,
Scott Morrison told me that if Michael Towke were to be pre-selected, there would be a swing against the Liberal Party in Cook because of Mr Towke's Lebanese background. Also during that meeting, Scott Morrison informed me that there was a strong rumour about that Michael Towke is actually a Muslim.
Morrison called that a bitter slur, rejected it absolutely and offered to swear his own stat deck, denying it.
Yes, of course I would.
But next day it became clear that was not going to happen.
Well, that's the only reason you would be required to do one. And that there's no court proceedings on any of those matters.
But there is more on the charge sheet. Morrison and his lieutenants are also accused of running a dirty tricks campaign against Michael Towke, who told Waleed Ali last week in an exclusive interview with The Project,
privately, the Liberal Party was accusing me of owning and operating a number of brothels, being involved in a criminal syndicate, and then the ones they published publicly breached the Liberal Party rules in signing members up false. I'd exaggerated or made up my academic qualifications, exaggerated my military record, exaggerated my business record, the dodgy lab.
And sure enough, if you look back to 2007, you can see that the mud was flying, with story,
Towke, a dead man walking.
After story,
Towke lied, but just by degrees.
After story.
Party split as Liberal candidate faces jail.
And Towke, who clearly was involved in branch stacking, but not in criminal activity, claims our current PM was behind some of those stories.
According to Towke, Morrison was at the heart of the smear campaign.
He was front and centre of it. It was for him.
It was for him or by him?
For him, and he was involved.
And bizarrely, Towke's claim is backed up by disgraced former Labor Senator Sam Dastyari, who told Kyle and Jackie O in 2018 that Morrison's factional lieutenants had
turned to the Labor Party and asked them to prepare the dirt file on
his political opponent to be able to get rid of the guy. I know this because I was the one who put the file together.
Under political and media pressure, Towke finally agreed to have his pre-selection overturned and throw his votes behind Morrison, who then won in a canter. And why did Towke go quietly?
Figuratively put a political gun to my head and basically told me they were going to ruin me. I would never be employable ever again if I didn't withdraw from the pre-selection and throw my votes in behind Morrison.
And thus did Morrison get into Parliament. The Liberal Party subsequently cleared Towke of any wrongdoing, and he successfully sued the Daily Telegraph for defamation, telling journalist Paul Sheehan in 2009,
"I was willing to bankrupt myself to clear my name."
So, all in all, a fascinating story, and one everyone in the media would surely want to cover, in that it concerns the character and credibility of a man seeking re-election as Prime Minister. But the Coalition's media supporters have typically dismissed, trivialised or undermined the claims. In the Daily Telegraph last week, James Morrow argued that Morrison's critics have an axe to grind, asking,
who are the people behind these claims? And do they have any ulterior motives?
And an accompanying editorial advised readers,
on takedowns, check sources. Ancient grudges may appear to be little more than sour grapes.
On Sky News, Peter Credlin took a similar line.
This is yet another character assassination of the Prime Minister. Are people waking up to this game, do you think?
And what might that game be? According to her guest, Dennis Shanahan from The Australian, there is now
a new woke agenda where people can make a claim, get a headline and work for it.
Others, like Chris Kenny, dismissed the Towke story on Sky as old news, a distraction and not news at all. And he and Andrew Bolt both turned the story 180 degrees into an attack on the leftist media and the ABC, with Bolt lamenting,
the ABC is loving this. I mean, last month, ABC presenters played down the far more convincing claims that Labor senators had bullied another Labor senator, Kimberley Kitching, a friend of mine, right up to her death last month of a suspected heart attack. But some of those same ABC presenters now are going on and on and on about what the Liberal Morrison had allegedly said, not last month, not last year, but 15 years ago.
The Towke allegations may well be 15 years old, but they concern Scott Morrison's entry to Parliament, and there are plenty more allegations of bullying and lying to go with them. And to dismiss them all as trivial or a left-wing media plot is ridiculous, given that so many come from his colleagues. What's more, if 15 years is too long, how do we explain this recent telly exclusive from Bolt's News Corp colleague, James Morrow?
Left field bombshell for Albo. Commie Rag remarks come back to bite.
In February, the Daily Telegraph went digging in the archives to reveal sensationally that 31 years ago, Anthony Albanese agreed to talk to the official communist newspaper Tribune about what a New South Wales state Labor government would do if it got into power. And this was Albo, aged 28 at the time. Wow. And finally tonight, as much of Australia is drenched in endless flooding rains, you might have also heard some ticking.
The New South Wales coastline is tonight in the crosshairs of yet another rain bomb.
Sydney is staring down another giant rain bomb.
New South Wales faces down just another rain bomb, Nate.
Yes, it's been a weather explosion up and down the eastern seaboard, and it's been bombs away on 7, 9 and the ABC.
Well, it's being called a rain bomb and it's heading our way.
A rain bomb tracks towards Sydney.
A rain bomb is heading for Sydney.
A 3-day rain bomb.
A 3-day rain bomb.
Another rain bomb.
Another rain bomb. Sydney's rain bomb explodes.
And it's hardly the first bombardment. Back in February, when flooding devastated parts of southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, the bombs were being dropped by politicians.
We have a rain bomb above southeast Queensland and it continues to come down.
That was Brisbane Mayor Adrian Strinner, who, according to Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk, nailed the description.
I thought the Lord Mayor explained it incredibly well. There is a rain bomb that is just sitting over the entire southeast.
But at the risk of being pedantic, it wasn't a rain bomb at all, as the New Daily tried to explain. And as The Guardian's Matilda Bosley pointed out on TikTok.
Entire towns in Australia are underwater and politicians say something called a rain bomb is to blame. They are wrong. Wrong
then and wrong again last week. So, what is a rain bomb? The Bureau of Meteorology tells MediaWatch it is nothing. And Weather Zone's Ben Domencino agrees.
Meteorology is full of interesting technical terms. However, rain bomb is not one of them.
Domencino says it is a nickname some meteorologists have given to a wet microburst, which is a narrow shaft of heavy rainfall in a single thunderstorm. But it is definitely not days of flooding rain. So, should we care if the term is inaccurate? Well, language evolves, and if your home has been flooded and your streets are underwater, I bet you do feel you've been under attack from on high. So personally, I am for it. And that's all from us for tonight. There's more on our website where you can stream or download the programme. And don't forget, Media Bites online. No show for us over Easter, but we will be back the following Monday. Until then, goodbye.